you've been in business for a while, you know getting clients isn't the hard part. Well, if that's where you are right now, this video isn't for you. You're here because you're struggling to keep them. And not just keep them, it's keeping them engaged, excited, and progressing with you as they grow. Now, here's where I see a lot of service-based business owners get stuck. You deliver great work, you've got a great offer, and maybe you've got a retainer offer sat there, but clients don't progress onto it. They trail off and you feel that the energy is slightly lost. Now, I don't find it impressive where I see people say, I've worked with hundreds of businesses over the years. That's great, but what is even more impressive is where you say, I've worked with hundreds of businesses for 2, 3, and 5 years as they've grown through this particular phase. Because your support that you might be providing for a client right now isn't probably what they'll need to get to their next phase. And this has all left you wondering, what am I missing? Like, what can't I find to be able to identify the opportunities within my existing client base? Hi, if this is your first time here, I'm Bella Hegarty. I help service-based business owners create this sense of calm and structure across both their internal and client experience so that their services feel effortless to deliver for them, but exceptional for their clients. What we're talking about today is finding the right opportunities and identifying those within your existing client base so you're not adding extra workload or more for you to do. It's using what you've got existing so that you can focus on building retained clients and reoccurring revenue, which is the fundamental of any successful business. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 practical things that you can go away right now and start to implement and see some results. Let's dive straight in. So practical tip number 1 is to reconnect with your existing clients. Now, if you're that person who's worked with hundreds of clients over the past 5 to 10 years, then there's hundreds of opportunities for you to be able to reconnect and get to know what they're up to. These conversations don't have to be a call for you to immediately jump on and try and sell them something, but it's looking at building that and nurturing that relationship to see where they're at. What does success look like to them next year and the years beyond that? What have they been up to? How's business been? How's their personal life been? There are so many opportunities, ideas, new approaches, and you can sometimes understand the ongoing value that you've been able to provide them, whether it's 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, that's still making a really big difference today. And that's something that you can pull away from it. But listening and being present in these conversations not only helps you identify your value, but actually it's just a way of connecting and supporting their journey. It's not just about getting more work necessarily. It's a really good opportunity to show that you're invested in their success beyond the project or the previous project that you did together. Practical tip number 2. Review your sales and onboarding process. When I go through this phase with clients, there is always this opportunity that I often find is missed in those initial sales discovery conversations and throughout onboarding to identify so early on what this A to B to C journey is. And what I mean by that is A is when they come to you, what they're facing right now. B is what happens after they finish working with you. Like, what are their challenges next? What are they looking for at that point? And number C is where they're headed to later down the line. If you can identify this entire client life cycle in your sales or an onboarding process, you can start to ask leading questions to understand, where would you like to be 5, 10 years down the line? What is your ideal lifestyle? Now, if you're someone that is providing consulting services or coaching services, you can either look at that from a personal perspective, a business perspective. Let's say that you're a life coach. You're talking about where would they like to be? How do they vision their lifestyle 10 years down the line? You've got such a clear vision then of what 10 years looks like to them. You can already start to see, okay, well, in 10 years' time, they're looking to be here and currently they're here. I can identify we're not going to solve all these problems in this initial engagement, but what I can give them ongoing is X, Y, and Z. What challenges have they faced with previous coaches or consultants or agencies that they've worked with in the past? You can then identify what support, what needs they have in order to be that person that provides them with exactly what they need beyond just this first engagement. You're that accountable partner. You're helping them implement what they couldn't implement before. What can you find out from those conversations right at the beginning? So you've already built something that hits all those points after that first project and supports them 2-3 years down the line. And that leads me really nicely onto practical way number 3. Reviewing your existing client calls and auditing and analyzing what you're missing. All of these calls, whether they're regular touch points that you've had throughout the engagement, whether they're one-to-one, they're check-ins, or they're feedback points, like specific feedback extraction points, like client success check-ins, where you're looking to identify where potentially clients get stuck, what's stopping them from generating results, what blockers are there. And it's that layering on challenges of implementation. Again, looking at ways that you can identify what support, what need will help take them to the next level. So for example, if I was to jump into one of these calls and a client isn't doing something that you've asked them to do to help them, let's say you've provided them with all the sales processes, they're just not going out and implementing it. So that tells me that there is some kind of block that's stopping them from taking that action. So it's jumping on a call with them and asking them and actually layering that into your process. If there's something missing there, it's finding the time, getting a call, reviewing past calls to find out what you've missed. Is there something that they've said throughout these calls that stopped them from doing it? Or it's finding that time with them and saying, hey, I've noticed that I've not received any sales calls from you that we can review, and you've not put in place any of these assets. What's stopping you from being able to do that? Is there anything that we can provide to help you along in this process? And why do you feel that this is such a hard task? And really digging into that, like going layers and layers deeper into asking not just the question, but why that thing is happening. This shows that you're proactive in your process in identifying what those blockers are so that you can actually be the solution, and you already have in mind how you can help them solve that. One, it's quicker in your initial engagement or that project or that service to help get them results. But if there are common patterns and themes, you can start to build something afterwards that supports that. Practical tip number 4 builds again on the previous point, and it's offering solutions, not just spotting problems. And what I mean by that, and when I map customer journeys with clients, we go through and analyze the risks. And I've got a video that you'll see linked here that goes through how to map your client journey. And this talks all about what are those, on one of those layers, it's what are those risks, what are those blocks, what are those potential touch points or potential stages in our process, in our customer journey that we run through with clients that can really put a spanner in the works, can cause scope creep, can cause issues, can cause clients to take 3 steps back, can increase the timeline because they're not doing something, or we're not doing something where things can fall through the cracks. If there are blockers where they don't have assets that we potentially need, how can we provide options that might solve those problems for them, but it's also an upsell or retention opportunity for us? I think with all of the things that I've said so far, and if I can attune it back to all the work that I do with clients, so much of it is just listening, reflecting. And if you're in the weeds right now, it's really hard, and I encourage you to take a step back and have an overall look at your clients and really get to know them, their challenges, your process overall, how you're delivering, and being able to see where those blocks are and what solutions you could possibly provide based off where they are and where they're looking to go. Make it easy for them to say yes to what ongoing support or extra advisory or extra deliverables or a service that you can provide, because you know it's exactly what they need. Practical tip number 5 is to keep the door open. Not every client is gonna need you right away, or they're not necessarily gonna need that next step. And I know that, and I've got clients that don't stay with me immediately after I've worked with them. But what is important is clients knowing that there is further opportunities. And I think this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see, is that when I speak to founders and their teams, there is this assumption that clients know everything that they do. There is this assumption that clients, after the engagement, that they will come back to them, even if the business doesn't reach out, even if the business doesn't make it known that there are other ways that they can support. And I think what is and this biggest missed opportunity is clients are so involved in their own business, as are we. Like, we're often so focused on our own business that we don't take a step back to think outside of that. They're not going to come to you. You've got to find the opportunities and put it in place as a part of your process and this client experience, that after you finish working with them, when do you check in with them? When do you reach out? When do you follow up? Are there certain key points after working with you that seem to them ad hoc and really nice, but actually you've set a reminder for yourself and created a point in the journey where you actually physically reach out to them after 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. There's always an opportunity, whether you can refer them, whether they join your newsletter and you're keeping engaged with them through that, whether you send them resources once in a while, or you keep them in mind for another client. There's so many opportunities to continue to be able to nurture your clients. What we miss is that we don't think that our effort is something that's needed. So let's run back through those 5 practical ways. Firstly, reconnect with former and existing clients. Find ways to catch up with them, get to know them, understand their goals for the rest of 2025, next year and beyond. Number 2, review and audit your sales and onboarding process. Are you asking the right questions early enough on in the process to be able to identify if long-term support is something that they're looking for? Number 3, audit client calls and conversations to be able to find insights or opportunities or challenges that you may have missed. Number 4, offer solutions, not just identify what those problems are. That's step 1. You are the solution to what those problems are. And number 5 is keep the door open. Don't just assume that because clients have finished with us or we have conversations with clients that they know us. They don't know what's outside of what you've just told them, what you've already told them. If they do, that's a great client that's really curious and very inquisitive, but that's not always the case. Supporting your clients for the long term isn't just about over-delivering and giving them all this extra value. It's about listening, understanding, connecting the dots, and really getting to know what success looks like for them as a part of your journey together. And if this video sparked an idea for you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to help, ask any questions, and please share with anyone that you think it might be relevant. If you want to see more like this, head to the channel, subscribe, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.